I am so excited to have the beautiful Hannah McDonald here today, because this sister is just someone, you're such a light in the world. Everything you've created, the mission that you have on your heart, and your commitment to just doing something great with your life and your vision for others is really incredible. And I knew that even from the moment we met, and we would have met at the Dunedin Social Experiment. Yeah. So that must be like, how long ago would that have been now?
Close to 2 years.
Yeah, cool. Okay, cool. And so tell us a little bit about, Hannah, like where you're tuning in from, what you were up to, and I guess how you got into this world of coaching.
I'm tuning in from Dunedin, Otago. I'm an Otago University student. I tuned into this world. I was introduced through socks. I had a family friend recommend me to socks and the Social Experiment, and that's where I started. And I actually have the book, and at the end of the book I wrote like a goal to work with Bryony within a year, and I did it. So it's really funny to look back over and be like, oh, that's cool. And ever since then I was addicted and just wanted to, the wheels started turning about what I really wanted to do, my intentions, my purpose, the big goals. And then a few other people through socks did High Powering Women. Sophie, I think, did the first one that I noticed. And then I jumped into this one, and it's really funny because the last one Georgie did, and that was like the two girls I like connected with deeply through the Social Experiment. And since then, I went into socks with a goal about creating Love Our Lemons, which is a social enterprise. And since then, I've also kickstarted a company called Ripples Creations, which is a social media management marketing company.
Yes, you have. Amazing. And so tell us a little bit about where, and I know it's so cool that you had that like intention of like in a year's time. And I think I love that about you. You're someone who just does, even though it's scary and you're not sure how it's all going to look, you're someone who's just always so willing to do the scary thing, or make those commitments and actually take action on them, which is so awesome. So when you came into, I guess, HPW, so the High Performing Women's Program, what was your like main intention of joining coaching? Also curious, like what was it about in 1 year? Was that just an intuitive thing? Was it just like, it's going to be my time?
I think it was intuitive. I had a lot of stuff going around kind of the beginning when I started socks that I didn't realize a whole can of worms was opening. And I kind of opened where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, like a whole part of me which I thought was impossible or pushed to the back or just didn't realize I had was opened. And then I think I almost went into an emotional hangover and was like, real world clicked in. It was like I walked through the doors and I was like, I can't do that just yet. And I kind of went into a deep dark hole. Ignored my soul's calling and purpose, and then we went into isolation, and it was the first time that really hit me. I was living with my dad. He's my absolute legend of a father, and he knows me best than anyone, and I was in a really bad mental space, and the word kind of got thrown around like, you're a shell of yourself at the moment from all my loved ones. And it was like a flip of a switch one night, and I was like, I need to start doing something for me and start aligning to myself and who says I can't do what I want to do. And I'd unpacked everything, had my Social Experiment book, and then went on Instagram and saw that this new round of High Powering Women was coming in. And so I booked the call, and I actually was like, there's no way I'll be able to afford this. I'm going to book it, but I don't think I'll do it. Like all the talk was coming in, and I remember doing the call, and like within a few moments I was like, I re-tapped into that energy, and I was like, I need to do this for me. I know where I kind of wanted to go, what I wanted to do, but I just had no idea how I needed to get there. I was also lacking a lot of connections in my life, and I knew going into it I could meet some amazing woman that I was kind of lacking in my life. And I think the year, looking back, writing the year was the acknowledgement of I had a huge year to get through to kind of figure out, and conveniently I didn't do any of the things I needed to do in that year. It all went out the window, which is more so when I actually went and did it, I was like, okay, this is even more so that it was perfect timing.
And it all is, right? It's like, like you said, maybe you didn't do any of those things, but it's like when it loops back around, it is just trusting those nudges. And it's funny, sometimes we're more open to those things than in other moments, you know, which is so huge. And yeah, and I remember, so you did come into, because, you know, there's a varying, some people come into coaching like not knowing at all what they want, and some people are like kind of clear, but it feels really far away. So I think you were more in that latter, right? It was like, you were quite, I remember when we first spoke, it was like, I want to be in LA, and I have this vision, don't know exactly what it's going to look like. I guess for you, did that, how, because and anyone listening, Hannah manifested this vision very quickly, which we will jam on, but how far away did that feel like, and what did you feel like was in the way of we were and we wanted to be?
I don't even have like names or words for where I wanted to go. Like I it was just a whole lot of random words and stuff but I knew the vision, I knew what I wanted. And it was so far away. Like at the start I was saying 2 years away. I was going like 2022, 2023. And then it sped up so fast throughout the course, and I've got halfway throughout the course I've got a page in my book where I wrote, and it's got a whole plan of everything. And then within a week later, like I'd found out like job titles, industry, people to talk to. It just sped up so fast. But at the start it was, I had a vision, I couldn't even explain it and put it into words. I didn't know if it was possible. It almost was like a delusional wee dream just lying there, but I was voiced in it, and I was like, if I can get there, this is one way I know I can start the ball rolling.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's so important, of like, it is that opportunity through coaching or programs or whatever to actually pause life and voice, like speak or reflect, journal, use those frameworks to get clearer on that vision, make those intentions, and then like share them in the community. I think every time you share with someone, like that idea gets closer and closer, right? And then it's like you said, it's like this 2 year becomes like accelerated. And that's what I love about coaching. It's not, you know, a lot of people get confused. It's not that you couldn't figure it out. Of course you could figure it out on your own. It's just that it accelerates it. It kind of gives you the frameworks, the community, the accountability to like pull it all closer, which is amazing. So for you, what switched? What was the most profound kind of moment or module or thing that was like, oh wow, like this seemingly pipeline dream 2 years away is like in my space, like we're doing it?
It was really funny because when I went into the course, one of my big intentions, like I knew where I wanted to go with LA and content creation, but before that I had my podcast and Love Our Lemons, and halfway through it I kind of delve into the world. I remember talking with you, and you said the more you get into an industry or a niche, the more you find out. And I'd originally was looking for a graphic designer for my Love Our Lemons design, and I tapped into the social media management and marketing industry, and I went on and I saw this amazing chick in Australia doing what I wanted to do. I was like, holy this is like there's a career path, there's like a whole title, there's everything you can do, people are hiring, like this is actually where I can get there. And within a switch, it was my Love Our Lemons was still there, but it's like, okay, Ripples Creations, like social media management in marketing, this aligns directly with the goal, where I want to go, what I want to do. It's a career path, it's a step I can take. And all of a sudden I was able to vocalize it. And it was really funny. That's when I did the game plan, and then that week after was when we had to do the whole visioning exercise, and that to me was massive. And I was laughing thinking about this yesterday, because when I did the visioning exercise, there's like the year, like write out what the next year is going to be for you, and then what's the next few. And I remember doing the year, and I was like, oh, this year is going to be so boring, because I can only, like, it's the year before I get over there, I can't do anything. And then I kind of switched it around a bit. Now look at it, I was like, my vision and stuff, it's so different, but it's so real. And it's so, I think the visioning exercise was crazy, and not to focus on events or big things happening, but more how I feel and how I want to feel. And I remember writing the first bit, and it was all about how I felt when I woke up in the morning, and kind of the vibe. I didn't put a place to it, but I put like sun and sea, and that was a huge kind of clicking point. And I think additionally, right at the start, the one purpose, many missions helped me so much, because I have quite a few like roads I want to go down, and to be able to connect them back to one thing was amazing as well. To be like, I had a lot of people be like, focus on one thing. I was like, I can't, they all connect. I need to do all of this. But to be able to pull it back to my one purpose was like amazing. This makes so much sense going forward.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's so good for multi-passionate people. It's like there are so many things we want to create. And I think people get overwhelmed by thinking about like, will this just be my one career for my whole life, and it's like, actually you can go so many ways. And what you could hear there is like your detachment from the outcome, right? It was like you were like, yeah, I know my thing, like I know my purpose, and I'm not attached to how it looks, which is challenging because we're so conditioned to think about the outcome or the goal or the thing, and it's actually flipping it and going, well, how do I want to feel? And like, as long as I'm in alignment with those values and that purpose, it can go anyway. And so true for me too. Like Untapped's one, social experiment was another mission, but all that same aligned like inner purpose, which is so huge. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, and the visioning is so powerful again, isn't it? Because it's like, it's not those tangible things, it's like, it's the emotions, it's how you want to feel, it's what you want to be experiencing. And then suddenly you start bringing those experiences in that could look, I think we limit ourselves when we say it's got to look just like this and be in that place. And it's like, what about it could feel in all different types of contexts, it's, yeah, amazing. So good. And so you joined July HPW. And so tell us about what's unfolded since then.
It's been crazy. So the last week was my first week back at university for semester 2. For the past 2 years, being back in Dunedin and being in uni has been a tethering point for my mental health. And it was kind of crazy to come back in here, and just on the baseline before kind of talking about all that's changed and all the manifestations, just to be able to come back in. And I remember I was describing the first week, I kind of felt like I was leaning over a cliff, being like going back and forth. Now I feel like I can't even see the cliff. Like, to be able to put into real life and action the stuff that I thought didn't even go in my head actually did. All the practices and everything I can put into life and daily life, to be able to be like, okay, cool, this is how we're going to do it. And just to keep myself on top and my sole purpose and kind of benefit life for me and everyone around me was amazing in itself. And then on top of that, everything else just starts flowing, and I started making some big intentions. And I think it really helped also watching other women come out of the cohort and doing amazing stuff as well, because then you'd stop, or like you might have a wee plateau, and then I'd see someone else saying something, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get back on that. But essentially I kickstarted my company Ripples Creations. I put a huge intention into it, goals, manifestation, where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, that I wanted that to be my main. I don't want it as a side hustle. I wanted it to be my career as we start. I set in some big goals to later on down the track, and then I really started to focus on getting over to LA, started to interact with some people. The craziest thing for me was where I was wanting to go, and what I was wanting to do was really specified and brand new, and I didn't know if I could do it. And I think it was the second week of HP Dub, an internship came out, and I was like, this is crazy. This is the answer. And through that, I have gotten an internship with who I wanted to work with over in LA, and have started to build up connections there and grow my position there, which is just crazy. I went from talking 2022 or 2023 to LA to 2021 to a month ago I was on the phone talking about how fast I can get over there. So now it's looking February, March for next year, which is just mind-blowing. I was just saying I have about 5 contacts on my phone of people in LA and networking and connections. Through Ripples, I've made the ridiculous amount of connections for future possible clients, and just networking and growing my knowledge, and it's been absolutely amazing. And the manifestations and the things that have come true is just crazy. The universe is very well answering what I'm putting out there.
Right. And it's like, so yeah, what you said was so important. Like, it all starts with you. And it's like that first foundational, like the tools you get throughout programs like this. It's like, it's not just that program. It's not just that. It's like, it's life, right? And you're still, and forever will be, getting those benefits of like that work you did on yourself, which, like you said, it just started with that intention of like, I need to do something for me. Like, this needs to be an investment for me. And then it's like, then everything ripples out into the world, right? Because it's all you, it's all the energy you're putting in, getting into those more kind of abundant, creative, powerful states, having a community behind you, backing you with that kind of energy, and then all of that coming back to you. And, you know, for anyone listening, like Hannah took massive action as well. You weren't just someone who was like, I think sometimes we think manifestation is like making a nice vision board and writing in your journal. Like, that's part of the program. And then it's like getting out in the world, you know, and that's what you so did. I think I remember the night you launched your Instagram, I think. Yeah. And I think like 2 of you sisters in the program, like, launching something that night together. And it was so cool. And I was like, here she is. Yeah. Magic.
Crazy.
Question, where do you think, if you hadn't done, I mean, it's a hard question to answer because I know it's not the current reality, but let's say you hadn't done coaching or HPW, like, where do you feel like you'd be now, or what specific thing do you think would have kept you in that space, if that makes sense?
I think I was actually discussing this with my flatmates earlier. I would be really worried about where I'd stand mentally and whether I would most likely be sitting where I am now. So I'm in the middle of exams. Exams for the past 3 years have set me into pretty much relapse mentally. And these exams it's been aligning me more into my purpose and soul desires, which has been amazing. And I would think I'd be in the same position I have been for the past 3 years, standing absolutely as a wreck around exams and stressed out, thinking all that matters in the world is me passing these exams. And I think the visions that, well, one, I don't even know if I'd have my Ripples vision, and I'd probably have just crossed off not possible or maybe in the future. And I'd be a bit, before HPW, and I think one of the reasons it's so amazing is because when you have a vision, it puts in steps and actions to take, and it really aligns. And I was one who had many visions, but I just had no idea where to start or where to go. And that's where HPW was so amazing. So I think I'd probably still have those visions, but wouldn't have actioned anything, or if had, probably wouldn't have helped me at all.
Yeah, I think it's so, yeah, you're right. It's that piece. It's like, we know how to dream because we're taught how to dream. We have that access to our imagination, our unconscious. We're literally like, everyone has dreams and visions. And I think the more I've done this work, the more I've actually discovered that often when you chip away at all the limiting beliefs or the fears, people often know, maybe not exactly, but they often know what they want, right? Underneath all the conditioning. And then I think what you just said is so perfect. It's like, we're not actually taught or trained how to then make that vision a reality. And that's a whole different skill set. Like, and it was for me too. Like, it was like who you have to become, the structures, the understanding of how, you know, energies in the world, and like taking all that action and accountability. Like, those are all things that we're not really taught. So it is about training yourself in that, right? Even the self-mastery of like, look, you're going to meet resistance. You're going to meet excuses. Like, be ready. You know, if you're literally going to take an idea and make it a reality, there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff that's going to hold you back, and a whole lot of people that, you know, that might also judge you or whatever. So it's like, yeah, I think, what do you think for you on that, like, vision? So you got clear on the vision to reality. Do you feel like, because you really have, and you've done it really quickly, and I know there'll be whole other more vision to come, but, you know, we're talking something you thought was going to be 3 years, you've manifested and built and created in like 3 months, which is pretty insane, right? Like, you're working for your dream company, you're going to LA, people are hiring Ripples for, and Hannah is a phenomenal at social media. She's done some beautiful stuff at HPW. So anyone listening who needs social media management and support, like, Hannah is your girl. Like, you are a queen at it, you know, and it's like, you've done that so quickly. So what do you think? Obviously, investing in yourself was like a huge hurdle in and of itself, but in that journey, what was the biggest resistance, fear, or excuse, I guess, that you had to overcome?
So for me, there was two, and one that's like recently only just poked its head up that I've been like, oh my God, okay. But the first one was ever since I was 10, so I'm 21 when I was 21 when I started this course. So 10, 11 years pretty much, I wanted to be a lawyer. That's all I wanted to do. Everyone knew that was my identity. That's what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be. And then in the last 2 years, I'd like put into like a gradship where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. I had pretty much 10 years planned out, and it was a whole, like I wanted to do law, I wanted to go into gradship for 2 years, then I was going to go to Australia, then London, then come back and have kids and have a family. And within that time, I would like developed, people got really invested into it, and half of it was generally out of, because at the time, that's what I thought I loved and wanted to do. I was in a relationship, my partner was also doing law, so I didn't realize until all of a sudden I was like, switch, I want none of that. Like none of that right now is for me. To then realize I had some people who were more invested in where I wanted to go, not for me, but for them. To be able to voice and change my goals without the guilt that I am when changing my goals, as in like a relationship, that you do affect someone else's goals and desires and where they want to go in their plan. Having amazing parents and supportive parents, but parents who were very invested for 10 years with me that I wanted to be a lawyer, and friends coming out and being like, hey, everything you identify me as, like introduce myself again, hi, I'm Hannah, nice to meet you, this is who I am now. That was the hardest thing, and I'm still going through it. But I remember, I think it was the third week, and I was actually in Dunedin at a family friend's place who had just graduated law. She's 60 and it was amazing, and we had shared for so long our journey wanting to do law. And I remember talking about this in the call, and I was about to go for dinner, and you were like, cool, go tell them that you don't want to do that, what you want to do. And I was like, oh my God, I can't do that. And we went out and actually started having discussion about, and at the time I was back in my marketing degree, and I was like, I actually don't know if I'm going to be doing law. I'm probably going to be going to do marketing, just before ripples came into like the full picture. And then from there I started vocalizing to people, whether close or whether family, friends or strangers, like, hey, I want to do this and this. And then when I wouldn't, I would feel the wee pain I feel like in my soul going, you're not saying what you want to say. Are you embarrassed? Do you not believe in it? Like every time I felt like I didn't say and played back into what people wanted me to do, I was kind of showing to the universe and myself that I didn't believe I could get there. And then I remember the first time I said, I was actually at a party with some friends, and my friend's little sister who had all just started uni, and they're like, what are you going to be doing next year? And I was like, I'm going to be in LA. Like before anything happened, I just said it, and their reaction was like, oh yeah, cool. Like no one questioned it. And I was like okay. And starting to vocalize that, but also deal with people struggling to like cope with that change, and kind of making sure that they feel more secure in themselves about the changes I'm making and where I want to go and what I want to do. But also understanding there's a few people that I love and still love dearly, but they freaked out because they cared more for themselves, not more for my happiness and where I wanted to be. And then the opposite side of that is, once I got through that door, to then be able to, the other day I was doing work for a client, and I just had a full freak, and the wee imposter syndrome and ego came in, and I was like, I can't do this. I don't know anything. There's people who know so much more. I'm really good at jumping in the deep end, but I was like, I'm not surviving here. And to be able to click out and kind of tell my imposter syndrome to sit down, tell the wee voice in my head to sit down, talk through my ego, being like, I'm going to be alive at the end of this, there's no tiger, realizing that the like kind of identity I put myself in to break out of, and really just work through it. But the thing that really highlighted to me was like, I might have been drowning in the deep end, but I was enjoying it, which showed I was in the right place, doing the right thing. But definitely the ego is a big one as well, and imposter syndrome. And I remember you talking about with coaching, you were worried because you were so young and thought you like didn't have right, and that was kind of like with the social media side of things, I've been like, I don't have any experience, but then it's a good reminder, no one does in this industry, it's brand new. And
yeah, amazing. Love those insights, so powerful, right? And that's like, yeah, that journey, it's an interesting process, like that dissolution of an identity that we've attached to, like law, such a strong one as well, that everyone related to us about that, and you kind of dissolve that terrify, it feels scary for you, and then it terrifies everyone else, because you're like, well, how do we connect, this is what we've always known, to then recreating your identity as this, social media management, marketing, all these things, like stepping into this, and your brain hasn't like got a whole bunch of evidence for that yet, so that's why I think that's also the imposter syndrome comes in, because it's like you haven't built you've got a whole bank of evidence around law or whatever, but it's like, this is a new thing to build that kind of credibility, not external credibility, but for yourself, like that just takes time. But I think a lot of people bow out of it before they've even given themselves a chance to like really explore, and again, like you said, it's like having the tools to notice, the little voice, the ego, okay, it would have me run now. That's what it wants me to do, turn and run, self-sabotage. But like the awareness of like, no, I'm going to stay here, it's so powerful. And yeah, and I think anyone listening who's in that space will know, and if we ever change career or do something different, we'll go through that kind of identity shift, and there are people that will support you, and there are people that will not understand and want you to be the person you were. And it's just kind of figuring out, which is equally even more important, why you have coaches, communities and stuff that get it, because it's like, I know for myself, like some of the people I wish got it the most didn't, and it was hard, man, I just want them to support me, and they do, but they're also scared, right? It's like, and I do remember that night you were at that dinner. I was like, just go reintroduce, and it really is like what you said, like, hi, I'm Hannah, just gonna reintroduce myself now. I'm just gonna let go of, and it's interesting with your journey, right? Because like 10 years of creating that from such a young age, like there's a lot in that, it's so brave. It's amazing.
And I remember that night, I think another one, kind of linking back to the big shift, and like what point did you shift in the course, was you kind of talked about like there's people's opinions you value because you love them and stuff, but also it's not their life they're going to live. And I had a lot of people who I love but are older than me, and it was are they where you want to go, then that's how much weight you put on their opinion, or are they going to be living that life? And it was like, I had to do what I need to do, because for the next so many years I'm going to be living that life, and if I do it for someone else that's not living it, then I'm going to kick myself for it.
Feel empty. And exactly, and it is huge when you're doing so, especially if like the path you've gone down is looking ahead and going, well, have they, the people I'm taking advice from, have they done it? And that was big for me. That's why I got a lot of mentorship from America and stuff, because it was like looking in the industry and going, okay, here's someone, like you said, that woman in Australia, like when you find those people, it's like, cool, actually they've created something quite different, and that's so important. And those people that are scared, always projecting their fears, they'll tell you all the reasons, and it's like, that's the reason they didn't do their things, their dreams, it's like, oh, what about money or whatever, and it's like, that's your that's I'm good. So such an amazing journey. And so tell us a little bit now, so so Ripples is in the world, so anyone social media management, like Ripples is your jam. And what's the, I guess, where are you heading? What are you hoping to create in the next few months? Big
so
decision.
I set a pretty big goal. Accountability was a big one throughout the whole course. Serial procrastinator. So to be able to have accountability, and I remember kind of talking about with you about accountability buddies only worked if they were really strict with me, and you said, but if you put it out into the world publicly, you can't take it back. So I think it was about 2 months ago, I put out on my TikTok that by the end of the year I wanted to have Ripples running, and then my 2 podcasts. And so it was out there, and then it was crazy because it was the day after you posted the work I did for you, and you got such a good response, and I was like, okay, I put this out there, and the universe is like, here you go. So I want Ripples Creations is social media management marketing. I want that fully up and running, and alongside of that, in the next few months, I will be learning over summer, taking a few graphic design courses, so I can then offer branding and graphic design at the start of next year. Alongside of that, I will be kickstarting 2 podcasts. So I have Love Our Lemons, which is why I did the social experiment and why I did HPW. That's all about raising awareness about the lemons life throws at us and creating education about turning that into love. So everything from mental health, all different disabilities to conditions to climate change, just everything, anything, all the way to split parents or I'm dyslexic, so like learning disabilities, any lemon in life, and then just kind of giving a platform for those who are doing really cool, positive stuff around these issues. And then alongside that, the brother of that podcast is Old Mates, which is more targeted towards males. It's a bit less PC, and it's a bit more about having those conversations you have with old mates that you are like, I think everyone should be hearing this conversation. It will be a bit about mental health, but also entrepreneurship and startups and people breaking out from the norm of the 9 to 5 and how they did it and why they did it and all that. So those will be up and running hopefully by the end of the year.
Catch the hopefully. I love it. Amazing. Just declare that it's happening. So golden on accountability. It's huge, right? It's like it doesn't happen in your notebook, and I think we get so disempowered when we make promises in our head and they don't happen. It's like that public declaration and commitment. Yeah, it's like the quickest way to get us in action, because we're like, I'll keep my word. And then that energy of like, it's out in the world instead of just in our head. Yeah, amazing.
And
so excited for the podcast.
Yeah, I know, I'm excited. I found also with the imposter syndrome, it was really interesting when I go to tell people like I'm going to be in LA next year or I'm going to be starting a podcast. The imposter syndrome and ego kind of comes up and it's like, you can't say that because you're a fraud. You don't know if you're going to be doing that. And like the accountability to actually saying it to someone is also, though they might not hold you accountable, you're like, I've said this to so many people, I'm going to go do this. Be quiet, little voice.
Nice.
There's another connection there.
Yeah, that's a really good catch. Actually, I was talking to someone about that the other day, because we're often afraid to declare these things publicly because they haven't happened yet. We don't have any evidence that they can happen. But it's like it's realizing that your language, like you're creating, and when you create something in language or in the through your words, it's like then the actions follow through on that.
Yeah.
As opposed to people like, oh, I might try and make something happen and then I'll be able to say I did it. It's like we completely flip that paradigm, don't we? It's like, no, you create and then you take the actions to make it happen. It's like very different way of operating, which again is so critical from that vision to reality piece. That's a huge part of it. Yeah. It's like, cool, well, I'm going to say it, I'm going to create it, and then I'm going to take the actions towards it. It's like, yeah, and there is a level of vulnerability in it, because you, I mean, like we said, you don't actually know what's going to happen. We don't. Like everything I declare, I'm like, it's a game, let's play. Like, but again, that's that mindset of like, it's okay if it fails, and if it does, I'll make it no matter what, or if it doesn't, I'll deal with it then. It's like, amazing. So good. Okay, cool. Well, we will be sharing the links to the podcast and your amazing and Ripples so people can find you and follow your journey, because Hannah is going massive places. Like we said, she took a 10-year vision and made it like 3 months. Like you are moving, and yeah, I'm excited to get the videos and the snaps from LA. You're such a talented young woman who's just got, again, so many missions, but that really core purpose and heart of what you're here to do. So it's been such an honor to be part of that process for you, to be able to empower you to take these ideas and make them a reality, because you're such a you're so talented, Han, and we will all be following this journey to LA. Make magic.
Exciting. I also want to say, amazing, like a wee thing you mentioned when we went into the HBW, like each kind of cohort that you do has a theme, and it was really interesting. I just want to be like, trust the universe, and if you're thinking about doing it, to go do it, because you'll be really surprised. I went in with the side of I didn't really love law and it wasn't what I wanted to do, and I think we had a lot of lawyers in our group, and we had a lot who were breaking out from where they were or not wanting to do what they were doing, or were doing it and loving it. And I was sitting there going like, this is what I need. I have all these women like ahead of me with the guidance and 5 years experience, whatever. And it was amazing. And it was crazy to be like, okay, the universe knew what I needed and put it on a plate, which was HPW and the amazing woman we had in it. And
yes. So being on, we did have a lot of lawyers in that cohort. It was just like modeling, like, if you're coming this way, this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
And they do. Every HPW has themes. I don't think people ever really feel ready to make that. It always feels scary, you know. But I think what I always say is like, there'll be a nudge like you had, and it's just like, just trust it, just lean in, isn't it? And whoever's in the program, it's always perfect. It's amazing, and yeah, so cool. Amazing. Thanks, Han. So awesome to have you here.